Before 9/11, you said you were working on a piece with saints. I was wondering, I mean, that, I don't know if they were intended to be historically accurate portraiture or just, you know, allegorical, but I was wondering to what degree you do portraiture versus just kind of imagine figures. The heads you're working on right now, the woodshed you said earlier, are just faces, and you just, so I was wondering why you choose, what it is you do, and then why you choose to do that.
I have done a few portrait commissions. You know, I sort of came late to modeling the head anyway, and I just, you know, you get, the first time you model a face in clay, it's like you fall off the chair. You're just like, you know, watching your hands work all the time. It's what sculpture is, whatever, you know, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, he's looking at me. And then there's this sort of second wave of like, every sculptor who ever modeled a face had this experience. It was the first time. And then you just get excited, like then you can do anything. You feel like, oh, you know, I could do, you know, you could do portraits. Well, portraits are very hard because you have to please somebody else too. They want to, you know, they want it to look like them, they want to look good. So, you know, and 360, you can get, like in a painting or in a drawing, you can get a perfect likeness, but does the profile match, you know? So I quickly backed off from the dealer that I worked with in San Francisco. I said this to her, I said, you know, I think I could do some portrait commissions. She said, I know you. One person who wants a commission that you don't like the way they look, it's all over. And I decided she was right. You know, I was doing a lot of reading for the saints. And I was just going to do the celebrity saints, you know, Joan of Arc, you know, because otherwise the iconography gets so hermetic, you know, if you read those books about saints, it's like, who's going to know that, you know? So I thought, well, let me just do the ones that everybody knows. And I was reading a couple good books about Francis of Assisi, who has had a very interesting life, by the way. Because he was a dandy. He was born into a wealthy family. His father was a French textile merchant. So his father traveled to Paris all the time, which this is the 13th century, so that was unusual. So Francis was extremely spoiled, had beautiful clothes, and had been in Paris, So that's over Francis. And his story, so his taking the vow of poverty becomes a very important thing when you realize, because he was raised in wealth, and not only wealth, but sort of flamboyance. So I was thinking about this, and I stepped out of my house one day, and there was a homeless man standing on the corner. The corner of my block is where every tourist who ever took a picture of the World Trade Center took the picture from. It was like the best shot of the two towers with the sun in between, you know, or the cloud in between, or whatever. And at midday, the sun was in between the towers at that spot. And one day I walked out, and there was a homeless man in a huge overcoat with a shaved head, and he was staring at the sun between the towers. And there was something so elevated about his presence, and I had been reading all this about Francis, and I thought, okay, model. And also now, when I look back on it, it was about a month before September 11th, so it was it became an image that was burned into their memory. So that was a sort of starting point for that figure, but it was also that was also the beginning of the head. It was that man's presence. You know, he was just kind of like stuck there, and I was thinking about, you know, what was he thinking about? What was, you know, where was his mind at? What was he? And so, so then the saints, it became about, you know, what was their, trying to get their story in their face. was a Joan of Arc that I did too, and you know, it's similar. It's almost like, so anyway, that's how that came about.